I'm here today to speak with you a little bit about my relationship with Odin. I often get questions about what it's like to be owned by Odin, or how I knew I was owned by Odin, and what it's like navigating that relationship on a day-to-day basis. So I thought that I'd answer a few questions and maybe help other people out there who find themselves in the same boat.
So when did Odin first come into your life?
95. He started courting me, and it was very much a courtship. He is a god of dangerous charm. He started coming for me in 1995, and he courted me. It was a quicker process, I think, than I realized at the time, but he courted me until I fell in love with him. And then he snapped me up and he bound me to him closer than I ever thought possible. I'm fortunate. I think Loki very much paved the way for my relationship with Odin, and he helped me calm down and open my heart and trust. I trust Odin. I trust Odin to be Odin.
So you're actually a wife of Odin. You're married to him.
I am. And it's hard to say whether that defines my relationship with Odin, or being his Godatheo, a god-slave, defines my relationship with Odin. It's never just one thing. There's so many different levels on which we relate, and each one has its challenges and each one has its rewards, but no part of that relationship exists in a vacuum. But yes, I am wed to Odin. And that keeps me going when the rest of it gets very difficult.
So tell us about Odin. He's got a lot of different faces and names and aspects. Which ones do you interact with?
I probably interact with Gangleri, the greatest, or Ygr, the one who hung on the tree, the rotting corpse of a god who died and came back after winning the runes. I deal with the rune master and the shaman. I deal with the king and the wanderer. And at his base nature, he is hunger and territoriality. He is a hunger for everything, every scrap of knowledge, every iota of power. He is the raging territoriality of the storm wind that gives no quarter and asks for none. I've dealt with his eldest aspect, the god that took up weapons and slew his ancestors because he could, because they were there, because it gave him the chance to create and claim for himself part of the worlds. That's the god that I serve. And he is ruthless. And I love him.
So, people who said that they want a patron deity, do you think that everybody gets one, or how do you go about that happening?
I think that most people who say they want a patron deity have no idea what it is they're asking for. I think that we have a choice in those gods that we love. We can show devotion to any deity that we want to, and that is a good and right thing. But to be claimed by a deity, we don't get to choose that. They choose that. And that's also a very, very beautiful thing, but it's a much more complicated thing. And it comes with many more challenges than a simple, unfettered, devotional relationship. You don't have to be claimed by a god to love a god and to pour out offerings for a deity. But if you are claimed, there are obligations, and sometimes there are taboos. And as deeply as you pour yourself into that deity pours him or herself into you. And that can be a very terrifying and life-changing thing.
Well, what would you advise people? How do they go about finding the right God for them? Do they just wait? Let it come?
Well, I would say start with getting your ancestral house in order, because if you can get it right with your ancestors, They will show you how to get it right with the gods. And by it, I mean the protocol of respect and humility. If you can get it right with your dead, they'll show you how to get it right with the gods. Sometimes you don't have that choice. Sometimes the god does come calling. Or sometimes, like maybe you're like me. Maybe it's easier for you to hear the gods than to hear the dead. Then pray and meditate and do your rituals and pour out your offerings and just try to live mindfully. Ask for the connection. There's nothing wrong with asking. The worst that can happen is that you'll be told no, not now. Ask for the connection and then be ready, because a deity just might have been listening.
So what does Odin ask you to do?
What doesn't Odin ask me to do? Seriously? I was having a discussion with a colleague recently, and we were talking about how you can tell if someone is really owned, flat out owned by a god. And we decided that the way that you can tell is they're terrifyingly productive. You know, people say to me, you've written so many books and you have 15, 16 projects that you're working on, and you're in grad school and you're teaching and you're doing this and you're lecturing here. I'm like I have a choice? Odin asks me to wear many hats because he wears many hats. He asks me to wear many hats because there's work to be done, and there aren't enough willing hands to do it. So what does he ask me to do? Anything he happens to need done at the time that I have remotely the skill set for. And I'm happy to oblige. You know, sometimes in my clumsy way, but whatever needs to be done.